I can see your face, but...
How about now, mate?
There we go. That's all we needed. Apologies to the stream. You couldn't hear Des, but... Well, I don't know if it's apologies needed, to be honest.
They could hear me. Yeah, mate, trust me, it's a blessing to the earlugs is the only way I'll describe it. I think they could hear me. B-Mix was on. Discord was not. Basically a screw you ace moment coming in there. But let's talk around how they're going to screw each other with these bans. Jackal, man, are we stepping into ranked ace or what?
Certainly looks that way with the insta-lock on the Jackal there. So we're going to have none of that footstep tracing Inox gadget coming in, so the Roamers will have a little bit more freedom on the defence. Guts are going to follow that up with an attacking ban of their own that will be the Thatcher, so that runs out our attackers here on Chalet. Now this is a game that I am excited for, Des. Two teams that are very evenly matched. They play each other an awful lot. They know each other really well. We saw them, finishing within a place of each other last time around. They're always sort of battling, and when we get to the end of Stage 3, this could well be a result that we look back at as decisive as what happens between these two teams.
The painful thing is about Guts and FAV. I feel like a disappointed father every single time I think about them because we know these teams can do well. We came into APAC at the start of last year and said, Guts, hyper-aggressive team, can really surprise people. FAV just picked up number 2, a phenomenal player from Takubi Festival. It was like, wow, these teams could really do great. And since then, they just haven't. They've always finished around that kind of mid-table mark, the sort of 4th to 6th spot. They've never really shown the promise that we know they have got. FAV especially, I think, have got some of the greatest players that you can get out of the Japanese region. Yet it doesn't really seem to come together. It's like someone's done a really poor jigsaw where the pieces aren't quite cut to the right size, but they're all brilliant quality pieces. There's a lot to come from them. And Guts, with the experience they've had of Mario helping them out, for example, they should be, I think, a lot better now they've had a stage to play with him, a little bit of an off-season too. I really need to see magic out of these guys in Stage 3 because so far it's been pretty disappointing from start to finish for both. This is a time to show that you now mean business and want to show that you're able to challenge Cyclops, who at the start of the day looks a little bit shaky, Ace.
Well done, Des. You managed to get a mention of number 2 in before round 1 even began this time. We know that you're a bit of a shill for number 2. You're certainly a big fan.
No, I turned my back on him, mate. What can I say?
Well, at least you're sticking to it. At least you're calling yourself out on it. But we've got a new player in the lobby as well. We've got Lugator in there. Not somebody that we've seen, so keep an eye on him. But I always like to give you something to watch out for at home. Watch out this game for Lily and Light particularly. We're looking for some kills out of them for the side of Guts. So Light was the leading kills for Guts in Stage 2, coming in at 61. More than 20 behind the pace of those top fraggers in the region. And that is something undoubtedly that will be hurting Guts. Mario as well, we're looking to step up. He's on the Iana, he's got that entry up. We're looking for them to get in there, get kills, get those frags, and really power Guts towards the wins that we know that they are capable of. But when I look at these two teams, I just feel at the minute like FAV are on a bit of an upward trend, only slight because the consistency still hurts them, and Guts just seem to be on a little bit of a drop off, a downward trend for me, but there is certainly not much in it.
Yeah, clearly to them, Lugator coming in was the change they needed for K-Raider. It is still a 6-person roster, so you may see him come back in. But clearly today, against their Japanese friends, this is when they thought, right, time to try something a little bit different. One thing that makes me incredibly nervous between these two teams, Ace, is that Valkyrie isn't banned away. Japanese teams renowned for being hyper-aggressive. I always reference it. I remember Mag from Fnatic put a little clip up on Twitter. They were scrimming against, I think it was Cyclops, and clearly both teams were okay with it. He gets up onto the west side, like above strip on the roof above there, and suddenly 4 people burst out of walls, out of windows. They love being hyper-aggressive. So you give someone like Typon the chance, he will make a jump out happen. He will go aggressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of spawn peaks attempted throughout this game as well. So keep a very close eye on that kind of outside the building aggression, but Typon's want to get shut down here by Yura to kick things off.
Typon very nearly got himself caught out earlier. We just saw him coming out of the cameras there. The Flores drone had been locked in. The Rotero had come in, found him and anchored itself next to him. Now, we did see a kill from a Rotero drone earlier in the day. It was actually Dan1 Kia who secured it, and I believe it was onto an Echo that was in the same situation on the cams. And you got to be able to react very, very quickly to that to be able to get yourself out of that utility and to carry on with your movement and get yourself away. Now, we've had couple of kills, a flurry at the beginning of the round through the mid-round that leaves us 4 versus 3 in favour of Guts Gaming coming in towards the final 45 seconds. But for the time being, FAV not getting overly aggressive here, looking to just hold their angles now. They've got 2 in sight, and then they've got Afro downstairs on the Legion now. Afro was lethal in Stage 2, 6th overall rated player in the region, and they need to watch out for him on the flank here, because if Guts don't, it is going to be a serious lapse.
You can see what the focus is here as well for the side of Guts. This big push in from the north side. They've got the angles they need, and there comes the Vault, the one that will start it all off. But Meryu shut down Lily with one at long range is what you're looking for. Make it a double. FAV picking up the numbers, but it's a 2 versus 2 with 10 seconds to play. They might have to start looking for the kills here. Oh my god, it's a 3K for the new boy. FAV taking round 1 in a storm, and Lugator has said 3 kills. What an entrance ace.
Beautiful from Lugator, absolutely announcing himself there from behind the dining table. Just took himself a seat there and would not be moved. Just took one after another. And also that movement from Afro, as I suggested, Guts just never really picked him up, never really had a handle on him. Coming in last 10-15 seconds, perfectly positioned at the top of the west main stairs there. Bang, out goes the impact nade, open up the angles, get the final kill. Nicely played from FAV. A good defence of Kitchen and Dining that will see them move on to their second choice site, which is going to be Bar and Gaming this time. So you're likely to see a bit of attention to the top floor here from FAV. I would expect them to have a couple of roamers up there, just trying to prevent any vertical superiority coming in from Guts. But to be fair, that's not something that they overly played for or took advantage of in round 1, which we would normally see onto Kitchen and Dining.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I'm really quite keen to see how this develops, but obviously in that round there, the kind of execute air quotes came in about the 15-second mark. We've already lambasted a couple of teams today that have said, okay, well, 5 seconds on the clock, I guess we should start looking at the site now, and leaving it a little bit late. And earlier on I said, really, you give yourself no room for things to go wrong, and you might argue the same coming out of FAV, but there I think it was a conscious choice. You saw the kind of Vault came into the trophy window at the 15-second mark. They knew what they were doing. They prepared to lose a couple of gunfights, and it didn't seem to phase them all that much. Left it a little bit tight towards the end, but that one looked like a much more orchestrated, arranged push in there, rather than one strictly being, oh god, we're out of time, panic and push now. It wasn't that kind of affair. Making sure they're using the full use of the round to make things happen. And Shin starting things off in this round and making things happen for himself with a C4 onto Meryu up in solar.
Always a nice kill with the Nitro. It's just complete freebie, not really putting yourself at any risk there, managing to find the mark. And that takes the Iana down, and 2 nades along with her. The only nades that were available on the side of Guts Gaming. So that's going to be some utility that will potentially be safe. They do still have the Rotero drones from Light, but as I said, just keep an eye on those number of frags, particularly coming in from Guts Gaming. Yura not having a bad game so far, finding himself a couple. Another one who seemed to struggle in the last stage, playing a lot of Iana and Jaeger and not really putting down the numbers that you would expect, but Typon ups his numbers with a great kill onto Yura there, leaving us now in a 4 versus 3 in favour of FAV.
I said trade, but it was more of a crossfire there. The one gunfight being taken down in towards Southside. Great shot coming out of Light onto Typhon. Just after we saw a second ago, that really good play from Shin, getting the C4 upon Solar, backing down to Library Stairs and finding himself the second kill in the round as the player came pushing in down towards the Library Corridor. Good starting coming out of FAV. My issue being here, they are bleeding the numbers out still, because we're sitting in a 3 versus 3. Does it really befit either side? Arguably, the attackers are the ones who lose out the most when you start losing members early on. No frag grenades, for example, on Meryu, but of course, you still got the KB to deal with those that might be trying to be problematic. C4 on side, if your times this right, this could be a double, just one stepping up instead. C4 comes up, run away, he shall. Half HP he goes down to, but not enough to have him finished off. As we hit that final 60-second mark, Ace, it's 3 versus 2 for Guts.
JJ just finding number 2 there, but Lugator is still on the board, and we saw exactly what he was capable of back in round 1, so let's just see if that was a flash in the pan or whether it's something he can start to deliver consistently for this FAV side. Now, here comes the pressure down Library Stairs, but it's going to be Shin once again, second on the round. Lugator does it again onto JJ with a headshot. 2 versus 1 now for FAV, and they are starting to look dominant here on Chalet. The first couple of rounds, Guts haven't had any opportunity to get into site, Des. They've not managed to get any real control over any possible execution. FAV, so far, while whilst losing a couple of bodies along the way, which is almost inevitable a lot of the time, are locking these down. Very impressive so far.
They are getting the wins. I'm still not yet convinced. Again, I'm that disappointed father who stood there assessing everything that's going on right now. And I'm looking at this and saying, look at the numbers, though. Lugator, 3K in the prior round. That one just then, Shin on a 4K. It's like every single time he got a kill and moved away somewhere, there was no attempt from Guts to follow him up. That C4 through Solar, great. Drops away to Library Stairs. No one knows that he's there. Gets a kill across down towards Mezzanine. Then one comes running down Library Stairs and he's inside of Mud Room and then collects the closing 4K at the back end of it. Not once was Shin pressured in that round. He was free to move around the map and pick up kills as and when he wanted to, and FAV could have been happy with that, but they kept on bleeding members to the stage that, as we said, it was a 3 versus 2 for Guts. That's what makes me a little bit nervous. At the minute, it's relied on 2 big plays coming out of Lugator and Shin. I need to see more to see that it's a complete team effort here to get them over the finish line, because I wouldn't be surprised if Guts were to take, I don't know, the next 2 or 3 rounds and really show they've still got some fight in them.
They're going to have to. They're going to have to. They really don't want to be losing this round, particularly. If they go down 3-0, FAV start feeling like they've at least got a tie half, and the confidence is going to go through the roof. And interestingly, that Jackal ban from FAV may become a bit of a factor here, because if they keep hitting them like Shin did there, roaming around, moving around the map, just being able to get a kill, move on to a new location, you start looking towards your operators like Jackal, like Lion, who can start closing those roamers down. Lily has been bringing the Dokkaebi, but not really been effective in hunting them down and shutting them out of the game so far. So we'll see just exactly how Guts need to deal with that, and need to deal with it. They do. They have to find a plan over the next couple of rounds of how they're going to prevent that from continuing to happen. But right now, we are in round 3. You're going to be attacking this time onto Master and Bedroom. And interestingly, Lugator just playing underneath this time, in and around Trophy. He's got that Nitro in hand, and he's ready to have some sort of vertical impact potentially.
Yeah, I'm always watching Lily and these calls coming out, because as you say, that has been their substitute for the Jackal being banned away here, but hasn't yet been super effective. Need to see a little bit more out of that operator, I think, before we can really start commending it and saying it was absolutely the right decision. Bit of a pause coming in for Guts here, focusing out on Trophy Window, out towards West Main, and 3, by the looks of it, stacking up around Solar. But Lugator's been sat here now for 45 seconds and barely moved. He's had a couple of drones thrown his way, has killed both of them. In fact, look how many drones are down on the side of Guts so early on. They're down almost every... In fact, they've got 1 drone left, Ace, with 100 seconds to play. That is massive in terms of FAV side here, because they've killed so much of the Intel game away. They're now relying on just jumping in and trying to find these kills, or making use, for example, of the Flores drones. That to me just strikes a bit of alarm. If Lugator has done that much damage and the rest of the team have too, you'll be panicking on Guts side here. The rest of this is going to be a very dry round of trying to see what you can find by pure chance.
Absolutely, and whilst it's 5 versus 4 in favour of Guts right now, when those sort of blind pushers start coming in, you will see that potentially swing very, very quickly. And that's something that FAV have done well so far in the first couple of rounds. They've sat back, they've waited for their opportunities, and when they've been there, they've took them. Now then, look at number 2 getting aggressive. He's going to get 2 here, Des. I tell you now, he's going to swing round here and he's going to pick him up. He sees the first, he gets 1. Can he get 2? No! Misses his shots, but manages to escape with his life and continue to fight. He gets the clone, but not the man backing it up. Yura finding the headshot onto number 2, but 40 seconds left to go. Starts getting that diffuser down. This looks for every inch like a Guts round right now. It has to be, as Afro gets down. 1 versus 4 for Lugator. Shut down as the diffuser is confirmed, and that is going to be round to Guts, and they get themselves back into this at a crucial point, finding that first round that they desperately needed to get rolling.
Oh, you can't imagine it, can you? 80 seconds in, 9 drones dead, information basically shut down, and you still press on and win the round. It's crazy, because they found that kill up towards the top side, and of course found on number 2. Really good little trade play coming in, making use of the Iana clone, knowing that the SMG has only got a few bullets in the mag. It really can't do much more once it's sprayed half of its round into the clone coming through. So good kind of, I won't call it a trade, but good play off the drone in the first place to make sure that was shut down. Once that was done, there was never really much pressure up towards the north side for the side of FAV. So even though they knew pressure was coming in through West Main, for example, they knew there was a player or 2 on the rappel up towards Solar, there was never really a huge effort, I felt, to move players up there, or by the time they were moving them up, Guts were in a comfortable enough spot. They had a few angles. They picked up the kills and managed to close the round out from there. This is what I was saying at the end of round 2. Don't write Guts off yet, because with how the kind of like volatile this game's going to be, it could end up being 4-2 to them after this half's over.
I totally agree. I do expect a very close game between these two. I really wouldn't expect to see either of them run away with it. It's an interesting pivotal point in that last round was that number 2 swing onto Solarium. If he gets both kills there and takes down the Iana, you feel like the round goes a different way. But Guts, they were just able to take advantage, punish that mistake that number 2 made, and we're talking fractional mistakes here, but missing those shots and letting the man survive, that was a big part of what came to follow, which was FAV losing that round. So we find them 2-1 after the first rotation of sites. I don't think they're going to mind that too much. They've gone to Master as their third choice site. If that's how they feel about it as a team, they're going to be happy with losing that. You don't expect to come through and win every single defence. So FAV, they're just going to be heading back into kitchen and dining this time around, but it did take, as you said, Des, quite rightly, the Legator 3k last time around. It was down to the final 10 seconds, a 2v2. It could go either way. It just depends exactly how the bullet rolls, so to speak.
Chaos between Japanese teams and the play each other is definitely no big surprise at this point, especially between FAV and Guts. Cyclops should wager a little more composed these days. Fnatic, again, for my money, probably the most strategically composed team that you will see in APAC North right now. But when it comes to these two, you can expect some chaos. Euro's pushing his way into the even. No, I think now they see the gun sticking up, going to go for the spray around the corner, hoping he'll stick his head up. But it's not going to happen. There's a lot of rounds in that mag. Don't forget, of course, the UI now giving you that information. He can spray away all day, no problem at all.
You just saw the beauty of the LMGs there, and we've certainly seen a lot more LMG usage today. And on Zafir, of course, the alteration to the recoil. Euro still hasn't reloaded and manages to find a kill. Light just doubles down, one onto Typon. Euro goes big again with one on Shin, and all of a sudden it is 5 versus 2. And Des, Guts are trying, and they are succeeding in finding those frags that I was talking about. This is the performance that we needed. I called Euro out. He had low numbers in stage 2, but this time coming in and dominating the round here, managing to find himself 2, putting himself onto 5 overall. Now, number 2, he manages to find one back onto JJ, leaving us in a 4 versus 2, but there's still a lot of work for FAV to do here. They take in chip damage. Number 2 on the smoke, shut down by Light, and it looks that this is going to be another Guts gaming round, and I think you're absolutely right, Des. We're going to see this one go in the distance.
Feels like it's going to start going that way. Absolutely. All the members on the top floor. Slaughter will give it to Guts. It was an excellent call coming in. However, can Afro find any more here? No, he can't. Lily getting the shutdown. But again, I think the Decabi call there, that was a time when it has been the single most effective for them to date. They find the one on the top floor. They go, right, okay, there is resistance. Bring out the call. And I think the problem for FAV was they'd given Guts so much time to get comfortable on that top side of the map. No real pressure coming inside of Solar. No one really looking to challenge inside a Trophy. Just said, hey, you want to guys get in there? You want to drone things out? Not a problem. You go ahead. And as soon as the call came through and they knew there were 2 or 3 on the top floor, Guts just pushed forward with 2, 3, 4 men to make sure they got the kills on the top floor. Suddenly, it's a 5 versus 2. Really well orchestrated attack by Guts, but that's where arguably I'd like to see FAV getting a little bit more up in their face and disrupting those plans.
Good stuff so far from both sides, having reasonably good passages of play. FAV coming out strong to begin with, and then Guts able to find the answers to the questions that were being asked of them, and it levels things up at 2-2. And I'm going to start saying it already. I would be absolutely not surprised in the slightest to see this being another game going to overtime today, after the Damwon Kia game found itself in those additional rounds as well. But
yep.
Interesting placement of the Banshee there, just inside of the main entrance from Shin. It is going to be a bar and gaming defence, so makes sense. You do get a lot of players playing in and around that main lobby and fireplace area, but it's going to be very easily cleared out. It's going to prevent the initial immediate push through the door, but once established in there, it's going to be easy to remove.
Keen to see how it shapes up compared to what we saw back in round 2, because again, that was Shin with the 4K where he was free to rotate around the map as he pleased. There were no kind of rotate cuts being held by the members of Guts. And they just looked a little bit a little bit tardy. And I think the word I was looking for in the previous round was flimsy on their attacks. If you force them to have to make decisions and do things, Guts look really stretched and a little bit shallow, I think. But in that previous round, you give them time, they'll be incredibly comfortable. And again, it's the frustration with FAV that we know they have got some of the best gunners from Japan on their team, but they just don't quite put it into practice the way that you'd like to see. Here, I do want to see a little bit of difference. The one thing in terms of difference noting on it, actually, Guts have dropped away from playing on the Decabi. They've now got the Nomad instead. So a big change in style compared to what they had last time, to me, suggesting they want to be able to cut those rotates for, say, Shin, who was causing the trouble before, lock down those flanks, stop players rotating back to site, and catch them out in the field rather than letting them run absolutely amok amongst your roster.
Shin just looking to get an angle onto the main door. The immediate push hasn't really come from Guts yet. It's been a very patient approach. We're over a minute into the round now, still droning out down in the basement. Number 2 going to take a drone down, and as you've commented on previously, Des, it's something that FAV are doing very well, is starving Guts of the information game, but hasn't really had the impact they've desired in the last couple of rounds. But talking about impact, Shin finds one onto light there as he comes in through the double window, diffuser in hand, which dumps it down cold on the ground and leaves us now with a FAV advantage on Bar Gaming. Number 2 just going to hold a very tight angle onto the main door there. Merio's going to have to be careful. He does send in the Gemini clone, but look at that from number 2. The cheek, Des, the cheek to just run out and find the man as he hears the clone deployed, but it doesn't matter as Guts managed to find 1, 2, 3, and they turn the man count around to their own advantage. 3 versus 2 now.
Guts have completely changed where they're attacking from, by the way. Some really cool ideas in this round that just haven't quite gone well. So you can't really knock their attempt. It was more just unluck that someone was holding an angle or someone was ready. It's Yura inside a library. A second challenge comes through and he shuts it out. FAV knew what they had to do there. They needed that vertical controller. It was never going to be possible to hold it once the defuse came down. Another good round coming out of Guts. And just saying, Ace, at the end of round 2, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on to take 2, 3, 4 rounds in a row. Guts are definitely starting to shine off.
This is the Guts that we were desperate to see in Stage 2. This is the Guts that I kept backing in those predictions, because I just really thought that they had more in the tank than they delivered, but they were just unable to really put it down. But it just looks like that off-season has maybe given them a little bit of an opportunity to just start cementing things, solidifying things. As you say, Merio's had a little bit more time in there. He brings a lot of experience with him, and I think that is seeming to be doing well for them. Obviously, there's a lot of time to be played out here yet. We're on the final defensive round for FAV. After this round, we will switch the sides and Guts will be defending to FAV's attacks, and we'll see how that goes. But right now, Guts are going to be carrying a lot of momentum forward. Yura particularly is going fantastically well. 8 kills already, Des. We're inside the first half. There's another one to play yet. We could easily be looking at a 15 to 20 kill game for Yura, and it's just answering the question. The thing that I told everybody to watch out for coming in here was, who are the players getting the kills on Guts? We need somebody to do it, and right now it's Yura holding mouse 1 with that ginormous magazine on the LMG and is just unstoppable.
Have a field day with 151 rounds in there. Absolutely.
I might get
one
kill.
About Yura. Just maybe if you're lucky. But on the front of like Yura, I remember speaking to Fresh about this the other day, saying, what do you make of the players? And I said, Yura is one of those players that on the right day will pick up 2, 3 kills around and will just win rounds to the team by default. On other days, he will lose every single entry battle and be absolutely useless to the team. And it's that consistency I really want to see build up across the stage, because today we're seeing that first version of Yura, the one that does find a kill, 2, 3 every single round and make sure his team get over the finish line. It's a good start for them. It's going to be about converting it in the second half, because I always say it, there are 2 halves to a game of Siege. Things can change drastically once you change between attack and defense, because we need to see if FAV have got some real, onus about them on the attacking side. From what I remember, they are a better attacking team than defensive. Their aggression really pays off. Guts kind of sitting in the middle as kind of being balanced across both sides. So the second half may yet tell a completely different tale.
Right now we can see all the utility starting to be burnt. Merio's going to take a lot of damage on the Iana there, though. We've we've got Yura out on that office balcony, just looking like he's going to be aggressing forward. JJ managing to apply the Selma charge to the balcony wall as well. That's going to open things up and just make it more difficult for Afro inside of office there. In fact, he's had to dip out of that location because the pressure was mounting to such a degree. Now then, the Rotero drone being used to clear out that piano shield, but unsuccessfully. I think the placement there, maybe a little bit of a funny anchor position that just didn't allow it to catch.
It's the angle, yeah. You get like a weird angle where it's like if it hits the hard corner of the like the ray tracing, if it hits the hard corner of the piano first, it won't hit the shield. So the shield stands at least for now. Not that it matters too much, as they have already got themselves inside and now arguably can put that shield to their own use if they want to use it to contest up towards the north side. You've got JJ playing out here on the bathroom balcony. You've got one pushing up from piano. So they're starting to move forward as a team here, Guts. Remember what I said a couple of rounds ago. If you give them time, they will look very settled. It's when they're pressed and stretched that things start to look bad. But here's the first kill coming in for Light. Again, no real pressure on his side, just happy to take it one step at a time and picks up Afro.
Guts coming out impressively so far, always finding an answer. There we go, JJ swings onto Legator and finds him, but number 2 once again there to just try and turn the tide, just try and change the momentum of the round here. Tries to hit a man on the fadeaway through Trophy Hatch, but will be unsuccessful. Yura finds Shin, and that leaves number 2 a little bit out in the cold here. Moves back up the west main stairs. Him and Type on both sort of clustered close together. Damage taken from the door there, and there is that Zafir LMG again, but this time shut down by number 2. Leaves us 3 versus 2, 10 seconds to go, and this is something that we haven't seen Guts do yet, and that's play against the clock, play against that sand that's ticking through the hourglass. Can they do it this time? Merio straight in. He's gonna be the clock beater, but it doesn't matter as Light manages to use the hole in the soft wall to get that final kill, and that is Guts with a complete reverse sweep of the half. There's 2-0 down to 4-2 up.
What are we saying, Ace? Those first 2 rounds weren't super convincing. It's one of those that you look at and I think point it and say it's down to a couple of big hero plays out of individual players, but Guts showing once again when the rounds go slow, when they have time and composure, maybe the drone work isn't strictly the best, but they're very happy getting themselves comfortably into angled positions like the office window they held. I mentioned the bathroom window on side. You saw it then at the bottom of the solar stairs. There was someone holding in through the soft angle, waiting someone to come out of the basement or push in from West Main. It's just all very coordinated. And maybe that's a suggestion towards Guts' playstyle, is they do like this coordinated playstyle and struggle quite a lot against aggressive teams like FAV. And maybe that's why historically we've seen it be really back and forth between these two teams. The real teller for me, though, is going to be FAV on the attack here and what they can achieve. You're already seeing a change in tactic where they've got number 2 coming along on the Maverick alongside Typon on the Thermite. So nothing coming along that we saw earlier on in the form of, say, the Dukabi that was popular, the Nomad that was on side. Still things like the Flores in place and the Yana, of course. They're kind of the go-to operators that you have to pick these days, but otherwise a slight change in tactic. And let's not forget, there are 6 frag grenades on this team right now and only a Jaeger in play.
Now, interestingly, we've got Guts coming into what is a very important round for them here. It's the first time that we see them on the defence, and it's going to give us a real idea of how the rest of the game may shape up. If Guts can lock this down, it puts them 5-2 and seriously in the driving seat then, whereas at the minute, Fav can be sort of telling themselves, yep, that's okay, it was on the defence, we're on the attack now, we've got that switch of momentum, that switch of pace. But if this round does not go well for them, then it starts to become a real uphill battle. Now, Shin moving in quickly on the Iana there, looking to try and get aggressive in towards site and see if he can find himself an entry. He's going to use that Gon 6 gadget to open up the castle barricade and give himself a nice long line of sight out into the corridor, see if he can pick anybody up on any rotations, but not going to find anybody for the time being, so it's back to the information game. Now, it'll also be fascinating to watch and see just how well do Guts deal with that information game. It was something that Fav were able to shut down to a degree, but didn't really get much benefit from. They still lost the gunfights, regardless of whether Guts were going in there with information, with intel or not. So we'll see if Guts put a big focus on that.
And rotate away from Shin going up onto the roof here, I think, to move down towards the south side rather than worrying about the north. A bit too much ground for them to clear potentially. Afro, I think, might be looking to try and position this drone somewhere they can keep an eye on the rotates as well. See if anyone does try and come for a flank later into the round. But for the side of Guts, mostly static around the sites at this point. So for Fab, it's again them being afforded the opportunity to choose what they do. Do you want to raise it again? I've touched on it earlier on. You're seeing a smoke along here with the FMG. Citizen, I think, first being the one to pioneer that pick on Chalet, especially for G2, and then others around the world have started picking it up as well. The latest clearly being Light on the side of Guts. A pretty terrifying gun, and I think as Citizen described it, we wanted a shield, we didn't want to bring Warden, so Smoke would just have to do.
Well, the thing with Smoke is as well, if you don't have him in your plan for playing directly on site, he doesn't just shut down plant opportunities, he can shut down avenues. And that's what they're using him to do here. They're trying to prevent access into library, so he's just shutting down that avenue from office and shutting things down. Our FAV right now with 3 kills back to back to back coming in there and giving themselves a huge advantage in the round. Now, Yura manages to find one on the fadeaway, drops him down, but number 2 will be able to be collected, leaving us at 40 seconds, but JJ's moving back up those library stairs. This could be a big moment for the Frost, but no, FAV are aware and close him down. They don't allow him to get onto the flank and to have that impact that he was looking to have. Now, can he find himself one on a vertical angle? He cannot, as number 2 is going to find him through the site and shut him down, and that leaves it all up to Yura. He's the man of the moment, 10 and 3 so far, but he's going to have to find himself another 3 here. Typon's getting the diffuser down, 15 seconds left to go, will be successful, and things just got a lot more difficult for Yura as he tries to creep into sight. He just needs to find one at once. He doesn't need to get himself into a huge crossfire or a big gunfight. He just needs to try and break these down into individual fights. But FAV, they're not going to let him do that, Des. They've dipped away. They've got men on the rappel. They've got cover. They've got Afro led prone. They really are making this difficult. Yura manages to find the first, but the cover that I spoke about is there on the rappel. Typon shuts him down, and that is going to be the first defensive round to FAV, and we've got a game on.
So look at that burst forward, right? Smoke off library corridor. Light was in the smoke, and it was like, oh, we could play spoiler in the round, but enough presence of mind there, I think, to keep an eye on someone could do something crazy, and they had the immediate response. So for FAV, those 3 kills that came in the mid-round really got it set up. Was a little bit nervous that they might mess it up towards the end, and Guts would be the one able to walk away the winner, but they just couldn't quite collect the kills that they needed. We've now, like you say, Ace, got a game on our hands. It's 4-3 to Guts with FAV. A very dominant first attacking round. Could this be yet another overtime game today?
It was an interesting example as well. You picked up on the smoke there and the push towards library and this battle over the piano double door, and they got the office breach open. But as I say, Smoke is so often seen as a site operator. You play in site and you shut down that final execution, but he can be used to shut down other avenues of attack for key and critical areas, which is exactly what they tried to do there. But unfortunately for them, FAV were able to find a way around it, and it just raises that interesting question. It's something for us to watch over the stage, really. If we start seeing more of that smoke use with the FMG just away from sight, it's going to be interesting to see just exactly how that develops and how much success we find with it, and therefore whether it sticks around long term or not. But right now,
I'm sure you got some stats somewhere that you can say, shotgun versus FMG. Let's look at the numbers.
I'll bring you the stats.
Nah, I don't think you go that deep.
I don't have it on my fingertips, but I'll bring you the stats next week, Des.
Nah, surely you don't track what weapon they bring, right?
I can find it quickly enough.
All right, fair enough.
Talking about quick. We don't have FAV moving in too aggressively here. Afro's got himself on the underneath, but he's going to move himself back outside for the time being. A lot of pressure again towards library. Going to be attacking in towards master this time. So FAV very much, favouriting trying to get into that library area. There is, of course, obviously the Solarium push that's possible, but what we tend to find is that teams do things in the same way. So if they use a Solarium push for master, it'll be a Solarium push for kitchen dining. It'll be a Solarium push and top 4 clear for bar and gaming. But if you're a library team, you're a library team. And that's exactly what we are seeing from FAV right now. They're trying to get in there and see just exactly whether they can catch a man out, whether they can check him out, and that's exactly what's going to happen as Shin finds JJ in office, and that's going to be 5 versus 3 now, and FAV got themselves a very good advantage here.
There we go, and trying to open this wall up as well, saying, yep, forget about actually removing the electro clause. We'll just do a little open hole on the ground, which should enable them to then push their way forward. No mute jammers on side did mean they managed to get the Roteros inside of office pretty cleanly and start looking at getting things opened up. I was going to say, when's he pulling the trigger on that one? Will finally come out and open up the lower side of the wall just to give them the angle, but they didn't respect light being there. They find one onto the first, the C4 for the second, but then in comes Lugator Shin, now stepping up, who's having an amazing game, by the way. So many critical kills in these rounds. Merry finding one back at 2 versus 2 as Lily is down to a slither of HP.
That could be a defining factor in the round here. If they can find even one breath onto that kid, they are going to drop and die. So Lily just trying to hold a long angle here, but Shin's been able to get in and get the diffuser down. Lugator, however, will be injured. Shin may not have a choice but to go for kills now. 45 seconds, he's got plenty of time. He finds the first, he's going to be challenged from the doorway though. It's Merio who manages to find the last man, and this one is being fought tooth and nail here on Charlie.
I mean, that's a good shot for Guts because they now get to pull themselves ever so slightly into the lead. And it's Meryu, a player that we don't get to talk about all that much. He joined at the start of last stage to great fanfare. And we were like, wow, imagine what all this experience and skill can do for the team. And then he just kind of faded into the background and didn't really do much. And to be fair, up until this point on this map, also been very quiet. 3 kills in that round are 3 of the 4 that he has found on the whole map so far. But if there are a couple of rounds where you make a big impact for your team and get you over the finish line, that's a very good contribution to the rest of your team and the aim of getting a victory against your opponent. 5-3 to Guts in what looked like could have been a 4-4 draw at this point. Does mean they now only need one more round to guarantee at least overtime, securing themselves at least 1 point from this match.
Guts are looking pretty good so far. Going down into kitchen and dining, the defensive master there was, I'll say 50-50. It wasn't necessarily convincing. It came down to what was effectively a 1v1 at the end there. It was a close round between the two, but Guts held on, and that's the point. They really showed their guts there. They really showed that they have that determination and drive to get these rounds over the line, and that's what I feel like was a little bit of what was missing previously. Fresh spoke about it, that sometimes rounds that should have been won were lost and given away, and it's rounds like that where they have the opportunity, that they, no matter how small that opportunity, they've got to grab a hold of it and they've got to take it over the line, and Guts were able to do that there. Now 5-3 on the scoreboard. We come into round 9. We're into the action phase. Going to be defending kitchen this time around, so there's going to be more top floor pressure now. Lugator been a little bit quiet. We had that 3k back in round 1, a little bit quiet since then. Obviously we're just keeping an eye on the man. It's his first performance here in APAC North, so expectations aren't necessarily too high, but I thought that was an absolute freebie for Merio then. I got overexcited, but it was the Gemini clone.
A bit of, imagine if it was that much of a freebie. It'd be kind of one of the moments you'd be scratching your head and saying, how on earth does that come to happen? Although, earlier on today, we did see a couple of interesting kills coming on Oregon, so maybe kills like that aren't all that uncommon. But speaking of that last round, just again for a quick second, for FAV, when they pushed up towards Piano, they kind of just sprinted forwards without really much acknowledgement of the player behind the shield, up towards the bathroom side, and also the player behind the bookcase who had a C4. And that to me was them trying to be unpredictable and saying, right, we're going to burst forward, we're going to make things happen, they aren't going to expect us. Obviously, Guts had a much different response to that. But that, I think, is why FAV can be so hard to predict sometimes, is they will do unpredictable things that can catch you off guard. We'll see if that comes to light again in this round, or if they're going to be a bit more composed about their approach. Knowing they've got Merio off on the roam, chances are you want to deal with him and at least have eyes on him, or know when he's going to come running up a flank. Otherwise, he could be the round ender in the same way he was in round number 8.
Quiet so far, with Guts not being put under too much pressure on that top floor. As you say, Light and Merio there just able to hold their positions for the time being. It's going to be Master and Office that FAV particularly want access to here up on the top floor. So they're going to have to move them along if they want to be able to start applying the vertical pressure, which they are looking to achieve. Afro on the sledge, of course, has the utility in hand to be able to do that. Now, Light's going to hold tight angles from in behind the box on top of bed there, but with the wall open, this should start to push Guts back a little bit. But right now, they're not too keen to move, Des. There's 58 seconds left to go, and FAV need to get moving here. They need to force these Guts players back, get some confidence, get in there, take the challenges. Do not allow them to dictate the pace like they're doing here.
I do want to comment, though, there's no Jaeger on side for Guts, and there's still 6 frags in the back pocket of FAV, yet we've barely seen any kills coming out in the last couple of rounds. Not that it matters too much, because why use a grenade when a gun does just as much for you? Lily on the run out there, catches 1. However, it is only the 1, and may get caught here on the player coming in from Trench. It's number 2, ready and waiting. Good response from FAV. JJ left in a 1 versus 4. I don't see him holding out here for 20 seconds against the incoming armada that is going to be FAV. Grenades come through. I spoke about the frag grenades. Ace, what better time to use them than to throw both at the only safe haven behind the shield and collect the closing kill. Good stuff out of FAV.
Great round from FAV there. As soon as they found that sort of spark that they needed to get themselves into Master and Office, there was only sort of 55 seconds left on the clock, and I was getting a little bit concerned about the amount of time they had, considering that the site was downstairs. But they were able to then push through, find that confidence, and really sort of battle forward and start to get themselves the kills that they needed. And it was like dominoes. One fell after another on the side of Guts, and as you say, we can have all the flashy runouts that we want onto Legator, but you've given your position away, and number 2 was there just waiting, jaws ready to clamp down on that man as he came back inside the map, got the kill. And I'm impressed with FAV there. I'm impressed with Guts overall. This, for me, has been one of the best games of the day that we've seen, Des. I'm absolutely loving watching these two battle it out.
I'm absolutely in agreement with you there. I mean, look, it's not the cleanest siege you're ever going to see, but it's also really enjoyable seeing how there's like knockout punch after knockout punch, really getting up in each other's grills, and some rounds just completely roasting each other and shutting them down. Like, look back to round 7 with that mid-round push when they killed 3, and it was like, whoa, awesome. Round 6, really slow for Guts, but a really smart play where they held those angles. It was beautiful siege to watch. You're really getting a good worldwide tour of types of siege to play here between these two teams, which is what I'm enjoying seeing so much, to be honest. And it's still really hard to call which way it's going to go. Do we finally get to see the adaptation come out from the side of Guts where they say, right, we really need some anti-nade utility. Maybe we should bring the Jaeger, because although we haven't seen tons of kills coming out of the frags, they have been used to remove a lot of utility across the board so far.
And we're seeing it on the scoreboard there. I spoke about Lillian Light at the beginning. It's something that we've sort of been following throughout this game. I told you to watch out for it. How many frags are coming in there versus how competitive are Guts within the game? 16 frags between Lillian Light. Yura has stepped up as well. And with those 3 players firing on all cylinders as they are, Guts are in the lead, and they're keeping themselves super competitive here and giving themselves an opportunity to put points on the board. And that, for me, is the difference maker for this side. If that core can really come out and perform, they have a great day. If one or more of them are struggling, which we saw multiple times over stage 2, then you know it's going to be a tough day for Guts in terms of the results. Now, we're coming into round 10. FAV are not going to want to give this round up without a fight. It will put Guts on 6, which will guarantee them overtime. For anybody maybe a little bit newer, coming in off the back of the Mexico Major, seeing your APAC teams doing fantastically well. Welcome, first and foremost, of course. We love to have you here, but also we play a best of 12. So if you get to 6, the best the other team can get is 6, and that's going to push you into overtime, which is then a best of 3 rounds. So this round is particularly important for Guts. If they can get that, they guarantee themselves some points, because once you get into overtime, even if you lose it in overtime, you still pick up 1 point in that league table, which could be crucial. Beginning of the game, I said this game could be decisive at the end of the stage. These two teams will be fighting for similar positions in the league, so it could be really, really pivotal.
Do you want to note on a couple of changes, actually, because for the side of Guts, they've been changing who's playing what's operator quite a fair bit. Last round, for example, the Vigil was played by Meryu. In this round, it's across onto Lily. The Smoke previously was played by Light. It's now on JJ. So quite a lot of flexibility coming in between the players here, depending on what site they're on, to determine who's going to play what. In fact, even looking back at the last time we played Bar Gaming, it was that change in Smoke that I mentioned. It was Light playing on the Smoke, and JJ instead was playing on the Frost. So a totally different strategy coming out, where there's no Castle, there's no Aruni. They've really gone hard on the Intel Denal in this round, but as long as bringing along the Alibi here to bring the shield for them. Look also towards the smoke. So a few changes coming in, and the question is it going to work out for them? Lily's gone for that second run out again. And this is the curse of ranked, right? You either C4 the doorway and someone runs out on garage door from you. You either C4 the corner where someone covering out a garage and someone runs out the door. You just can't win that position, Ace.
Legator gets himself running with a kill in the round here, and he had such a great start to the game. He's continued pretty steadily throughout, finds himself on 8 kills in 10 rounds now, and he's bringing some of those sort of flex operators, your Flores. He's not going to want to give his life away too easily. He wants to make sure he's getting the maximum use out of those Rotero drones, of which he hasn't used any so far, but I believe there's one just on its way out now to start some of that utility clearance. Now then, Guts are being pushed back here. We've got Yura established on Library Stairs, but he's going to have to think about moving soon as Merio gets killed by yet another nade des from number 2. And that leaves us now in a 4 versus 2. FAV, they are looking for my money to tie this up here at 5-5 on the scoreboard and guarantee that we get at least a maximum of 12 rounds. And we couldn't ask for much more, could we? This is one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a long time.
I mean, how it boils down as well. You're in a 2 versus 2. One is a smoke, and Yura, who's popping off pretty well so far on the map. I'd be a little bit nervous if I were FAV. I mean, their go-to approach here normally is, right, storm the site. They can't kill us all, surely. But I think they're trying to be a bit more cautious about it. One's gone down, a 3 versus 2. One more would even things up at 2 apiece. Up towards the top. Great shot coming out of Yura. 2, oh my God, what a shot coming out of this man. 2 kills onto the head. Shin's the last one left alive. And I said it. FAV should be able to push the site here, but it's quite simply not going to happen. Guts clutch up big and take round 10.
Yura says no, not today, and finds himself. The first one was just a beautiful flick, and then presence of mind to drop into prone just to change his angle of attack so that he can't be pre-fired as easily, and gets himself the second. That was an absolute round-turning moment, and that is what we're looking for Yura for. Bottom-rated player out of this team in Stage 2, coming out with a performance like this. He has found his confidence, he's found his stride, he's 13-6, and boy did he find that man on the office balcony.
Fav. We need to have a word. I said I kind of abandoned him last stage. I was like, look, there's no fix.
You can't keep doing this, Des.
Get it right.
You can't keep doing this.
No. Ace. I never took them back on.
You can't keep rubber banding on Fav.
I'm not rubber banding. I was like their biggest fan all of last year, and up to the end of stage when I was like, I believe they can do it. We got into stage 2, and I was like, look, I'm just not. I can't do it anymore. Like they're not showing the ability to get these things right, and that to me is one of the greatest examples of errors that they can make and things they really need to improve on. You're in a 4 versus 2. You've got 40 seconds on the clock. You've got top floor control. They had everything they needed. So what do? They take continual 1 versus 1s against these final few players. They leave the last one to be a 1 versus 1 against a shotgun. It's sad and infuriating at the same time because you know they can be so much better, like I keep on saying, but you never quite see that come to light. And yes, Yura has been the real big shining star in this game. I said he either completely crumbles and loses every entry battle or does really well, and I'm glad to see in the second half he's carried on playing really, really well. But on the other side, it's been a bit hit and miss, despite the numbers not looking terrible up and down the team. This is what I mean. It's not down to an individual player. It's a team effort from FAV that's just not quite clicking into place right now.
Shin making quick progress in through Big Garage there. He's going to put his Claymore mine down just to prevent the potential of being pushed in through that door whilst he's holding the vertical angle. Something that we've been seeing used a little bit more frequently. We've seen it a few times today, Des, whilst we've casted Chalet, and that is using that vertical angle from underneath to watch onto Solarium Stairs and just try to catch out anybody rotating on that staircase. But of course, depending on the utility you've got in hand, it's not something that Zofia has. But if you've got nades down there as well, if you've got a defender that's got themselves wedged in on those stairs, you can just use those explosives. But Afro manages to find himself a kill onto JJ, and that could be a really big start for FAV here. This could be the start of the fight back, Des, as Afro finds Yura with a headshot, takes the big man down, cannot find the second onto Light, and this is what Guts need. They need multiple players stepping up and doing the business. Now then, Shin shuts down Lily, and we find ourselves at the halfway mark. 4 versus 2 in the round.
4 versus 2 again, Ace. I'm always nervous, but this time round they look to convert it out. Merio, the last one left alive. And no offense to him, he's probably not the man that you're going to have going big and clutching out around all on his lonesome against 4 players from the side of FAV. But that shot, I was like, why are you peeking, bro? He was sat in the hot tub behind a shield. 2 ADSs, peeks onto Afro, who's out in solar, and he gets the biggest freebie of his life. walks into bathroom and finds the second, it's again the same story. 1v1s are being taken and peaks are being used when they're not necessary. You haven't got a challenge at that exact moment. Let him push a little bit deeper. Challenge him when he comes to the door. And that's the thing that's going to come back and bite Guts, I think. They're 1 round away now from this going into overtime, and it will be on their own back. They have shown they can deal with FAV in the late round as long as they don't crumble in the early stages. Let's see that composure, Guts, that establishes you as the better team over FAV.
Well, FAV taking us all the way to 12 rounds. I knew coming into this one that we would see every drop of regulation time. The only question that remains to be answered now is, do we get a little bit more? And I think that you, Des, everybody wants to have a little bit more of what we are getting here on Chalet between Guts and FAV. Right now, FAV, they're fighting hard to keep themselves in this. There is no room for mistakes. They have to get this round over the line. If they don't, then Guts will take the full 3-point win, and that, I can assure you, will be heartbreaking for this FAV game inside, because they really have played their part in this matchup so far. Now, look at that, Des. We've seen the success with nades so far. Just glance your eyes to the top right of your screen. 8 nades coming in on the side of FAV.
Is this a joke? Have they got 8? Oh, you counted. Wait, what? Is that a miscount? That's definitely
6
a miscount.
nades on the side of FAV.
6 nades on the side of FAV. I don't know why it's
still
the 8.
a lot.
I'm also as confused as you. No, see, I thought for a second you were saying 6 frags and 2 smokes. I was like, yeah, that's a lot. And then I looked at it and read 8, and I was like, hang on a minute. That doesn't sound right.
I am to be forgiven.
Not quite there. No, you are to be forgiven, Ace. That one I do not put onto you. But yes, again, it's 6. And guess what? On the other side, there is no Jaeger. One already being burnt in towards the corner here. It's kind of a nice way of cutting time where you haven't strictly got a drone it, because you might be able to nade someone out. Speaking of getting taken out, my God. Meryu put down to a slither of HP. Rocking that wicked skin for Vigil, by the way, from K1A. Absolutely love it.
Early damage coming in there, and it's
crossbow.
A slight advantage. It's great skin, isn't it? It's an absolute beauty. I love those.
Oh, yeah.
I think they call them, is it 3D skin? I think they called them something like that. But yeah, it's great seeing those coming in the battle passes, and it's always a nice incentive to grind through it and to get yourself up to the levels where you're finding those things. It's a beautiful thing. Now, Mario still on low health in the round, but hasn't been finished off yet. Managed to get himself away and play his life at least for a little bit longer. And on the Vigil, that could be a tricky business for Fav to deal with, because he can at least burn time. He's going to try and keep himself as safe as possible. In comes the nade. We've spoken about them over and over again. And Merio, he's going to find himself down there, and I can't see that Whitey is going to go in and pick him up. I wasn't sure he was going to take the risk there, because obviously another nade could well follow in, but they're not going to be in place to do that, so they won't be able to. And the man will be revived. Merio, I think, coming back to about where he was, Des.
That's the bandit. Yeah, I mean, Eurus, I was going to say,
too late.
Wall and we'll go for it, but it's too late. That's pain, because this is the big change. They didn't bring Bandit last time, and his whole role was to deny the wall, but wall shall not be denied, apparently. As it now stands, 4 versus 4. Typhon getting sprayed down by Lily, who has awoken the beast. The dragon has came out of the chamber that is the garage and is now picking up kills. Light finding another one on the other side. 3 versus 2. Guts can do it right here, and right now, Ace, they've just got to get these final 2.
This is the moment. Number 2, he's searching, he's seeking. Can he find the man? He knows he's in there. He goes for the pre-fire, finds the head of Light. 2 versus 2, 40 seconds left to go, and Fav have got all the time in the world right now. Plenty of sand in the hourglass to go. They just need to try and find these last men. They want to get themselves a kill before they start thinking about a diffuser going down. The nade does come out, but it's going to be unsuccessful. JJ able to just shut down that avenue of attack. The site, of course, remember, is underneath. It's in kitchen and dining, and right now, Afro and number 2, as much as they had time, it's starting to tick away. It is slipping through their fingers very quickly. They don't have the diffuser. They need to get downstairs. They got to find kills. They're going to find one, but they find both. Afro comes in the 1v1 after we have a trade in the midst of the action, and he manages to take us to overtime.
How does this keep happening, man? Oh my God. Look, it's nothing else if not exciting, right? It is phenomenal from start to finish, seeing how close these rounds are going. But I know you felt the jitters like me, Ace. You were like, they've taken 30 seconds. They've got 13 on the clock. Surely they can't push in, get the kills, retrieve the diffuser potentially and try and get it down. It's simply not going to happen. But Afro pulling it out when it was most required and making sure that one gets over the finish line. That is payback for round 10 after Yura had those 2 kills inside a lobby. Overtime between these two teams, it just writes itself. They are always back at each other's throats over in the Japanese league. I can't wait to see how the next 3 rounds play out, and equally who it is that starts on defense and on attack.
Always evenly matched and always an entertaining and mouth-watering prospect when these two teams meet, and today certainly isn't falling short of that bar. Now then, we've got a tactical timeout. That's now a minute long, a little bit longer at this stage, so they're going to have a minute and they'll just be chatting. We can see there's some sort of real expressions of concentration there in the side of FAV, just looking to try and iron out any problems that they've been having, try and get this one over the line. It is all about these next 3 rounds. At 6-all, we head into a best of 3, and the sides will rotate every single round. We're just going to have a quick rehost as well. I think we've just got a little technical issue that we're just going to deal with, so we will get everybody back into the lobby as soon as we can do. But of course, as I say, coming into overtime, it's going to be best of 3 rounds, and it's going to be a rotation of sides every single round. So one of these two teams, I don't know who's starting on attack and defense, but as they come in, we will see that switch every single time. Now, Des, do you think FAV have maybe just broken the mental resolve of Guts there with that final? I mean, that was the absolute dictionary definition of to the wire.
Maybe. I mean, clutch plays like that, they've been back and forth throughout the game, right? Like we spoke about Yura's big 2K and that lobby hold, Meryu's 3K, Shin picking up the 4K, hi by the way, Lugator as well with his big 3K back in round 1. It has been back and forth between both teams in terms of players having moments of individual brilliance. But for me, the attacking side, I mean, the stats lean to it as well. It was a 4-2 split at either half. The attacking team has been the one that has walked away the strongest. So I think here, if Guts get to go on the attack, FAV need to come out hard and aggressive. They can't sit back and let Guts set themselves up. We've seen that's how Guts like playing. You give them the time and space, they will beat you down. FAV need to really turn the heat up to 11 there, because on both attack and defense, that is where we've seen them be super successful.
I agree. I think FAV need to come in here and they need to carry that confidence, you know, that they're going to have found in round 12 there. They've come in, but they can't be leaving it to the last 10 seconds like that. They need to give themselves a little bit more time. They need to try and just get ahead of themselves in the round a little bit and make sure that they've got the access that they need, that they've got those couple of early kills. We've been seeing a lot of Mario playing on Vigil, for example. That needs to be cleared out. It needs to be cleared out sooner so they're not wasting as much time on it.
I love all the nade hunting, right? Just like, lob a nade. Oh, okay, I got injured. I'll run back towards site. Lob another nade. Oh, he's actually now down but not out. That was what we were worried about all those rounds, that we didn't see a Jaeger creeping in as a pick, but there were always 6 nades on the other side. It was just back and forth between the two, but so enthralling to watch. I honestly think part of it is the fact that it's these two teams, and part of it is that it is Chalet. Like, a lot of players don't like Chalet because it's quite aggressive and quite, I don't know, hectic at times, but I think as a viewer, it is so fun to watch, and as a caster, obviously, as well. I think it's really enjoyable to watch from start to finish.
Des, there's a phrase that I get picked up on quite a lot, and I know there's a lot of people enjoy it, so I'm going to throw it out there right now. I am on the edge of my seat, Des. I cannot take much more of the action that we are getting between Guts and FAV. It's not just the fact that it's gone to overtime, it's the manner in which it has got there. It's the back and forth between the two teams. It's the aggressive plays. It's the entertainment factor that is coming along with it. You just never really know, and I've got the sound in my ears that tells me we're going to be loading back in any second now. The game is starting up. Don't worry, you won't miss a thing. We'd just like to make sure it's all up and running smoothly before we take you back. And the players, they look ready to go. And there's only one thing left to do, Des, and that is to find out who is going to be the ultimate winner between Guts and FAV. And wow, what a weight this one could carry on those final standings.
Oh boy, oh boy. Alrighty, back into it then. Final 3 rounds. Kitchen and dining going to be where FAV start. They are the ones on the defense. Personally think this favors Guts. They're the ones who have showed that on the attacking side, they can be a lot more composed and structured and generally get those rounds over the finish line without too much drama. However, FAV have had a couple of big rounds, like looking again back to round number 2, where Shin popped off and got a 4K. There are those rounds when they can do work and surprise the other side. So let's keep a close eye on that. Drone work for Guts going to be a big one. We saw them lose 9 drones trying to deal with this before inside 80 seconds. Lots to look out for.
It certainly is, and there's not a lot of time to look out for it. We've only got 3 rounds left to go at the absolute most. Of course, if one of these teams can come in and just win the first 2, they will take the lion's share of the points. The impact on the points that will be awarded now, of course, in regulation time, it is a simple case of 3 points for a win, 0 points for a loss. But when we find ourselves in overtime, that changes slightly, and it's going to be 2 points for a win now and 1 point for the loser. So these teams both have at least guaranteed themselves something, and I think that's pretty well deserved given the performances that we've seen coming out of both sides. Now, unfortunately, our scoreboards have been reset here because of the rehost, but I can tell you on the side of Guts particularly, Lily, Light, Yura have been going absolutely massive for their team.
Okie dokie. Righty, let's see how this one plays out. Back towards an old faithful kind of setup here. We saw them running the laser gates along with Frost, for example. The Kaid has made an appearance once or twice, but we've seen it dealt with a couple of times pretty well today on this map. Actually, we were casting early on. We had the Thatcher on side that basically completely nullified that away. At least here, with the Thatcher not being a thing, you might see that Kaid be a little more effective. And on the side of Guts, without that Jackal, leaning straight back in towards that Decay B.
We saw FAV defend Kitchen 3 times in their defensive half between round 1 and round 6, and Guts were able to find 2 successful attacks onto this site. So a 66% win rate on the day for Guts attacking into Kitchen and Dining. So the odds are certainly with them. They are stacked in their favour for them to be able to come in and do the same again. But look at that, damage taken straight off Yura. Some will come from the side of Lugator as well. So just a little bit of an exchange there. Once again, FAV doing a good job of taking drones down and taking men down, as Merio takes a lot of damage as well. And these chips, they all add up. Sometimes you can think about teams in terms of 500 HP that is spread across everybody. They've lost nearly 100 there, so they've lost nearly a full operator's worth of health. So just need to be careful that they don't let that attrition run away from them.
2 or 3 more chips, mate, and you've got a bag of walkers potentially. This is a very quick trade coming back in between the 2 sides. You're finding 1, number 2 straight for the trade. And that has been missing quite a few times today. I think trade play between teams has often come down to a lot of 1v1s. Good to see them doubling up, but equally number 2 has been shut down in response. So full control of this north side now taken by the side of Guts. They're the ones who've now got to start ploughing their way forward, and plough forward they shall. 2 left on the side of FAV Ace. I mentioned it before, Guts like the attack. They can be more in control here. Let's see how this shapes
like
up.
A boulder rolling down a hill at the moment. Des Guts are starting to gather pace, and FAV are stood directly in their path. And if they don't get out of the way, there's only one thing that's going to happen in this round, and that is that they're going to get run over. 30 seconds left to go. Guts just positioning themselves for a final push, but Afro is on the flank from that library side. I'm not sure how much of an impact he's going to have. Shin is put down by Light. Afro finds himself all at sea now. He's away from sight. He cannot make much of an impact on this plant attempt, but he manages to find one on Temerio. He does stop the plant going down, but Lily comes off and finds the kill up through the hatch on the reverse angle. There you go. Puts the man down, and Guts, they have another match point opportunity.
Oh, baby. All right. They're at that point now, Ace. They're on the precipice of taking the win over their Japanese rivals. A massive one to start the season off for Guts, because between these 2 teams, no doubt, there'll be some conversations of relegation potential. There is Sengoku Gaming right now in the Japanese league in second place, ahead of both of these teams that will be gunning for one of their spots at the end of the stage, and neither wants to be the one that has to face off against a team that they've already lost to inside the Japanese league. For that, FAV here need to do something special. They've got to make this attack work. I mentioned how previously it's been quite bursty. They'll just push forward, go quite aggressive to make this work out for them. I feel here Guts may start to get the figure of things, especially with all these different, like, what am I thinking of here? The obstacles put in front of them. You're looking towards the smokes, the castle barricades, the frost mats, the laser gates, the ADSs to try and calm down to those 4 frag grenades. There's a lot here for them to deal with, and if they don't deal with it in good time, this could come back to sting them, because FAV have been quite slow on their attacks. Let's keep a close eye on it.
50-50 sight coming up here. We've seen Guts defend Bar and Gaming twice. Fav won once, Guts won once. So there is nothing to give us any sort of indication as to which way this round might go based on the history of the map so far. So we're just going to have to see. I think the opening kills have been particularly important, where FAV have been able to get in and get themselves a man advantage, get themselves those early picks. They've then gone on very well in the round, generally speaking. So Guts, they need to be careful not to give anything away too early. They were close to doing so in the last round, but managed to just use their health very well. Yura, for example, on low health in the last round, able to get that opening kill before being taken down, and it really did help Guts to get themselves the point on the board. Now then, immediate attention coming in towards Solarium, so we are attacking onto Bar and Gaming, it's worth reiterating, but that tells me we're going to have a top floor clearance here. And Shin, we saw this previously, looking to move in through Kitchen into Dining to try and find a long angle onto any would-be roamers or defenders that get themselves into no man's land.
Indeed, up towards that north side, as we've seen quite a few times, always where the focus does go. Looking towards those alarms that we don't often see brought along all that much as well. The proximity alarms on Meryu here. Sometimes you'll see them get brought along. Oryx, for example, sometimes you'll see bringing them along when you do see an Oryx, but here it's about the castle on that. More to make sure those flanks are covered off and no one on the side of Guts is going to try and be too sneaky, I imagine, or just at least to alert the rest of his team to where the focus needs to be. Because on the side of Guts right now, they are all gathered above site. They are around Library. This is where FAV cakewalked 3 kills to themselves with that smoke that came into the Library corridor. They may be trying to do the same here once again, leaving only 2 on site, but for FAV, it's going to come down to time. If they aren't pulling the trigger, if they aren't smoking this off, if they aren't going for the play inside the next 45 seconds or so, start to worry.
Halfway through the round, Typon gets himself into office and will be able to take down the reinforced wall, which is going to give the angle onto Library Stairs that they used so well last time to punish that position. Legator's going to hold himself on the Library corridor window there, sending the Rotero drone. He's looking to get that closed out, but Iruni Gate will prevent, I think, the first attempt, but no, the shield goes down and that leaves Light somewhat exposed now. Out goes his final Toxic Babe canister. Now, will he choose to hold on to that position or will he drop back to site? For the time being, Guts are going absolutely nowhere. This is going to be a brawl as Typon's moving forward. Light has to do something or Yura could find himself surrounded. Exactly what happens, but somehow Yura finds a double and goes big for his team once again. Afro shuts him down. 3 versus 3 with 39 seconds left to go. This is poised for a late round bloodbath.
That's again the battlefield of Library corridor between these two teams, Ace. It has been the same on this site every single time. This is where the war really kicks off, but at the end of it, once the dust has settled, the smoke has dispersed, it is a 3 versus 3. They've got 15 seconds to play with. They've got to act. They didn't know about Lily, but somehow still find the kill. Oh, the diffuser, they can't res him up in time. They will finally be able to get him up, but 10 seconds to go. 1 on split. Could they find him? Mary, you finding one back on the other side. 5 seconds to go. They've got to make their move happen right now, or this one's done and dusted. 1 versus 2 as it's in hand. Number 2 can do nothing. Guts get the win. They take round 14 and they bring down FAV.
Guts having to show some real guts there and mental resolve to get that one done, but they put 2 points on the board in playday number 1 and come back with a tough and hard-fought victory against FAV Gaming. And those boys, I'm sure, are going to be disappointed on the other side of the table because this one was close.
Oh, I mean, so close.